You tap your card, the cashier grabs the tablet, swivels it 180 degrees, and steps back. Suddenly, you're staring at 3 tip options, and the lowest one is 18%. Historically, counter service tipping was a passive interaction. A glass jar sat by the register, accepting whatever spare change you chose to leave. Today, that jar has been replaced by an active, mandatory digital decision. Modern payment platforms like Square and Toast use default tipping flows designed to leverage behavioral anchoring and physical proximity to secure a transaction. This sequence, known as the iPad spin, utilizes the physical presence of the cashier to create an immediate sense of social accountability. From an operator's perspective, this looks like a frictionless win. The software nudges the customer into providing a wage supplement for the staff at no direct cost to the business. But that short-term margin bump carries a hidden cost. It directly erodes the baseline of customer loyalty. When faced with the screen, many guests pay the tip simply to escape the awkwardness of the interaction, while silently vowing to avoid the establishment in the future. This extraction creates a conflict for the business: the immediate gain of a few extra dollars today versus the long-term risk of a customer never returning. Treating the payment experience solely as a revenue tool trades sustainable repeat business for a fleeting one-time increase in margin. Central to this experience is behavioral anchoring. By presenting 18, many of these inflated percentages were introduced during the pandemic to support essential workers, but the software defaults remained at those elevated levels long after the crisis subsided. We can see the empirical effects of this default manipulation in a study of 13 million New York City taxi rides published in the American Economic Journal. Researchers compared passengers presented with standard defaults of 15, 20, and 25% against those who saw inflated defaults of 20, 25, and 30%. Pushing the suggested numbers higher absolutely succeeded in its goal. The group facing the inflated defaults increased average tips by more than 10. This taxi data maps directly onto the modern restaurant counter. The same reactance occurs when a guest feels an aggressive point-of-sale screen is forcing their hand. While inflated defaults extract more cash from compliant guests, they actively alienate a segment of the customer base who feel exploited by the transaction. Beyond the raw percentages, the physical design of the counter service environment is engineered to maximize pressure. Designers focus on the line of sight vector, the direct physical path between the cashier's eyes and the customer's finger on the tablet. This eye contact accountability removes the traditional privacy of a gratuity. Opting out requires a visible, public act of rejection. Data from Software Advice shows that 41% of customers tip more, specifically because of the server's close proximity to the payment device. Similarly, a WalletHub survey found that 55% of people tip out of social pressure, rather than as a reward for service quality. In this moment, the customer isn't evaluating service. They tap the 20% button merely to buy their way out of an uncomfortable social standoff. Software providers often reinforce this by visually suppressing the no-tip button, adding cognitive friction to the choice to opt out. This forced generosity instantly turns into resentment the moment the customer leaves the counter. This defection is silent. Customers do not complain to the manager, they simply avoid returning to the business. Weaponizing social anxiety converts a moment of hospitality into a hostile transaction, systematically depleting the brand's long-term goodwill. The breaking point for this model is the self-service kiosk, the ultimate operational friction point. At a kiosk, the customer performs all the labor. You navigate the menus, you customize the items, and you walk to the counter to fetch the final product. In this automated process, absolutely no human service is provided to the guest. Yet the software still forces a percentage-based tip prompt at the end of the transaction. This creates a fundamental break in the hospitality value exchange. The software asks for a reward for labor the customer did themselves. Bankrate data shows that 27% of customers tip less or not at all when facing these pre-entered screen prompts at kiosks. The logic of the transaction collapses at the payment phase, generating the highest levels of customer outrage. Customers interpret kiosk tipping not as staff support, but as a form of exploitative nickel and diming by the business owner. Operator complacency regarding these automated prompts causes more rapid brand damage than almost any other modern payment flow. Requesting a gratuity when absolutely no service is provided turns an automated convenience machine into a resentment engine. Fixing the payment experience requires a shift away from immediate extraction toward concrete operational solutions that prioritize the customer. The first rule is simple: match the tip prompt directly to the level of service actually provided. Operators should disable percentage-based tip prompts entirely on self-service kiosks and other fully automated flows. The second rule is to normalize the user experience by removing manipulative friction. A service-matched interface uses equal button sizes, clear dollar amounts for small orders, and frictionless opt-outs without secondary guilt screens. Third, where possible, move the tip prompt to a post-service workflow. This allows customers to evaluate the actual value they received and reward it honestly, rather than tipping under duress at the start of the meal. Operators face a choice between a short-term daily wage supplement and the long-term survival of the business. The payment terminal is the final memory of the customer experience. Designing it for mutual respect removes a key point of friction that silently drives customers away.